honorable mayors and governors, deputies and council members, ICLEI members, distinguished guests. It is an honor and privilege to present to you the new ICLEI Malmö Commitment and Strategic Vision 2021-2027. This strategic vision has just been adopted by the ICLEI Council and serves as a policy guide for you, our 2,000 members and network cities, to coherently accelerate sustainability in your jurisdictions. And for us, the 400 experts working at ICLEI globally, to provide a strategic framework for over 350 projects and programs, which we will implement together with you each year. The ICLEI Malmö Strategic Vision follows our former ICLEI Montreal Strategic Vision, which has guided our network's activities over the past 3 years. In fact, I'm pleased to announce that in these past 3 years, we as ICLEI were able to complete almost 150 activities across all 5 of our sustainable development pathways: the low emission development pathway, nature-based development pathway, resilient development pathway, circular development pathway, and equitable and people-centered development pathway. In doing so, we directly worked with 1,278 local and regional governments from our network, and through multiplying efforts, engaged with another 1,000 jurisdictions. Building upon this success, the ICLEI Malmö Strategic Vision continues many of the familiar elements established in the previous iteration, namely the 5 sustainable development pathways, and further elaborates and updates these to match our new global context, specifically in light of the global impacts of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Never before has a pandemic so clearly revealed the vulnerability of our economic structures, especially informal ones, the sharp inequalities of disadvantaged communities, the need for social investments, and the risks that lay in weak public services. The COVID-19 pandemic response presents a once-in-a-generation opportunity to change the trajectory of our own global development. The choices we now make in how we recover from this pandemic will determine whether or not we are able to accelerate the transformation of human civilization from the fossil fuel-based, extraction-intensive, capital-oriented model of the past century into a renewable, resilient, nature-based, value-oriented model that strives to respect the limits of this planet. We have already seen plenty of examples of good practice of recovery efforts advancing sustainability, from electric and non-motorized mobility, rapid digitalization of services, solidarity program rollouts, and intensive peer sharing of information, to the implementation of principles and policies on disaster risk reduction and sustainable urban development. The opportunities and challenges of the urban world reveal that the success or failure of the recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic will significantly rely on whether or not local and regional governments follow progressive practices, are empowered with the necessary technical, legal, and financial mechanisms, and are supported with multi-level and collaborative governance models. This global context provided the backdrop for the ICLEI Malmö Strategic Vision and allowed us to further embrace and holistically implement ICLEI's 5 pathways to sustainable development. Upon its adoption last week, the ICLEI Malmö Action Plan already details over 140 activities directly involving 1,100 local and regional governments from around the world in advancing ICLEI's work. These concrete activities encompass local capacity building initiatives and direct infrastructure investments, knowledge-sharing platforms and awareness-raising campaigns, technical trainings, information exchanges, pilot projects, innovation testbeds, and direct support on local sustainability planning. Allow me to highlight the 5 ICLEI strategic pathways to sustainable development under this next ICLEI Malmö strategic vision until 2027. Firstly, under the Low Emission Development Pathway, the ICLEI network stands for achieving a net zero emission, climate neutral future. As a commitment to the Paris Climate Agreement to limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius, we align with science in that it is essential to achieve climate neutrality in all governmental operations and in our communities at the latest by mid-century. For this, we will need to implement clear, sustainable climate and energy plans, ideally based on 100% renewables, and divest from fossil fuels. We will need to decarbonize the local transport sector, promote and apply nature-based solutions, circular development approaches, as well as people-centered, inclusive, and equitable actions. Over the next years, we will work with our network members to help set them mid-term targets for 2030, which allow them to join the UN Cities Race to Zero campaign. Our ICLEI Green Climate Cities program and our ICLEI Climate Neutrality Framework will guide our members on how to accelerate climate action and will encourage all cities to report and track their climate action through the CDP ICLEI Unified Reporting System. Secondly, under the nature-based development pathway, we must take all efforts to restore humanity's broken relationship with nature and the planet and enhance our biodiversity and the integrity of our ecosystems in and around our cities. Our ecosystems underpin our local economies, and we depend upon them for the social integrity, well-being, and the resilience of our communities. We will therefore assist in the development of whole of government and whole of society plans, strategies, and initiatives that use the potential of nature to provide essential ecosystem services and identify payment for environmental services options to generate resources for example, reforestation or renaturation actions, water conservation, and protected area designation. ICLEI Cities with Nature and Regions with Nature platforms will help us to share, connect, pioneer, and learn together in our journey to reshape the city of today to one in which nature is an integral part of the lives of all who live, work, and play there and wherein nature can thrive. As a key part of these first two pathways for sustainability, we must continue to decouple urban economic development and well-being from resource consumption and waste generation. Over the last 3 years under the Circular Development Pathway, we have made good experiences with seeking collaborative action with citizens, businesses, and the research community to promote a just transition from a linear to a circular economy. Our economic system should no longer rely on fossil fuels or other destructive resource extraction. Instead, we shall aspire to become zero-waste cities, towns, and regions, to have our residents practicing a lifestyle of a maximum carbon footprint of 2.5 tons of CO2 emissions per capita, and to integrate a circular development mindset and practice into all our municipal services. Here, the ICLEI Circulars platform of leading ICLEI network members and practitioners will guide, co-create, and scale up circular economy actions to regenerate, rethink, reuse, reduce, and recover. COVID-19 revealed that more than ever, our ICLEI members must urgently engage in a robust, resilient development pathway to make resilience a core part of all local sustainability strategies and to prepare for new risks and impacts that take into account the rights and needs of the vulnerable of our communities. The ICLEI resilience methodology and our partnership in the UNDRR Making Cities Resilient 2030 campaign will support the design, the creation, and the implementation of such resilient-oriented actions and activities, and will allow our cities to join the UN Race to Resilience campaign. Finally, Any development, and certainly sustainable development, must be equitable and people-centered. We must build just, livable, and inclusive urban communities. We must address the systemic causes of poverty and injustice and effectively dismantle existing societal and environmental inequities while safeguarding the natural support systems for human life. We must ensure that efforts made to improve sustainability in our cities, towns, and regions do so for the betterment of all, not just the privileged few, and grant everyone affordable, secure, and convenient access to the resources and opportunities they need for productive and dignified livelihoods. We must put people at the center of local sustainable planning, be it through inclusive and equitable mobility systems or addressing climate stressors that contribute to climate migration and regrettably cause residents to need to leave their homes. Our sustainable city is one that is not only good for the planet, but also good for people, where all community members have a voice, where everyone feels safe, and where diversity and distinct identities are valued and not diminished. ICLEI members, by applying these 5 interconnected pathways within your local and regional context, you can effectively address and even reverse detrimental practices. You can bridge divides and connect actors, sectors, and global regions. You are the closest to the citizens of this world, and you can best engage with your communities to understand their perspectives and bring them with you in driving local transformation with a lasting global impact. You can prioritize diversity and inclusivity across your administrations and communities as a spark for creativity and innovation. You can strengthen cooperation at the regional scale because your city is closely linked with and depends upon the peri-urban and rural areas and their ecosystems. You can foster strong partnerships to deliver on the global sustainable development goals with national, regional, and other local governments, with multilateral organizations, with international agencies, with the research and development institution, and of course, the whole of civil society. You have the chance to lay the foundation for evidence-driven and science-based policy and practices. You can test solutions, invite open innovation, evaluate new policies based on real-life scenarios, and drive innovation through city-business collaboration. Distinguished guests, the new decade of action for sustainable development started in January 2021, and the UN Secretary General stated in December 2020 that, to put it simply, the state of the planet is broken and humanity is waging war on nature. The only way forward is to urgently and collectively reverse this trend and drastically reorient the economic and social patterns of our daily lives, to redesign our built environment, to align with nature and restore the natural systems in and around our cities. We now have a unique opportunity to build back better, to ambitiously co-create a new journey for all to develop resilient, inclusive communities, and to discontinue the unsustainable approaches that have become so obvious through the global COVID-19 pandemic and the initial recovery attempts. Together, we must demonstrate visionary leadership, lead by example, share our knowledge actively and openly, and speak with a united voice. It is up to our network to create lasting mechanisms for change that make sustainability a permanent framework that informs all development. It is my strong hope that this ICLEI Malmö commitment and strategic vision is a common, ambitious pledge to make sustainable development the only model for development in the urban 21st century. Now, and in the years to come, the 22 ICLEI offices worldwide will work on over 150 different programs, projects, and initiatives together with more than 2,200 cities and regions around the world. We will work hard and hand in hand to fulfill your pledge under the ICLEI Malmö commitment and strategic vision. Thank you for your pledges and thank you for your commitment.